The United Nations is saying the Syrian government must also stop bombing and shelling the Yarmouk refugee camp for Palestinians. The camp on the outskirts of Damascus was bombed overnight on Friday. Thousands were forced to leave the camp after armed groups entered it a month ago. Paul Chadurjian reports.
The United Nations wants this to stop. The Syrian government has been bombarding the Yarmouk camp as part of an ongoing military operation. The camp is home to thousands of Syria's Palestinians. Since 2012, they've been under siege by government forces. But over recent weeks, they are being attacked.
I am a resident of Yarmouk. We were sitting in our homes with our children when missiles, rockets, barrel bombs landed around us. Look around you. They hit civilians and children. We are paying the price. There are no armed fighters here. Where is the United Nations?
The camp turned into an urban battleground when fighters belonging to the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant entered Yarmouk a few weeks ago. Most of them have withdrawn after fierce fighting with other rebel groups. But despite this, the Syrian army hasn't stopped its military operation. The United Nations is worried about the safety of the civilians inside. The Secretary General, in a statement issued by his spokesperson, said that thousands of civilians in the camp are besieged by terrorists and armed groups on the inside and the government forces on the outside. He called on the Syrian government to immediately end any military operation that could endanger the lives of civilians and urged all parties to stop the violence so as to grant secure and sustained humanitarian access to civilians inside the camp. The people of Yarmouk have had to rely on handouts over the past years to survive. Many have died from malnutrition. But since the flare-up in fighting, the United Nations says the situation and hardship have worsened. The United Nations Security Council has demanded all parties allow humanitarian aid to reach without obstruction. And the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO, is sending a delegation to Damascus. The organization wants to find alternatives to a military solution to relieve the suffering of Syria's Palestinians. The Damascus government wanted some Palestinian armed groups to conduct operations with its forces to expel opposition groups from Yarmouk. The PLO doesn't want to be drawn in the conflict, but regardless of its stance, the government is unlikely to stop its offensive. Yarmouk is at the doorsteps of the center of the government's seat of power. Paul Chadurjian, Al Jazeera.
A little while ago I spoke to Salim Salamah, who's the head of the Palestinian League for Human Rights in Syria, who was actually born in Yarmouk camp. He made the point that these attacks on Yarmouk have actually been going on for years.
It has been going on since at least 2 years and a half. The siege has been imposed since 2013, and we are now walking into the third year of this catastrophe.
So what can be done at this point? Is the most important thing to stop the fighting or to get a humanitarian corridor? I guess ultimately both is what you want.
I believe that the United Nations 3-point plan for Yarmouk, which was announced a couple of days ago, I think 10 days ago, it was a comprehensive plan where both points, as far as I remember, were included. As for the Palestinian League for Human Rights, our main demand actually is a humanitarian corridor that allows for the movement in both directions. So for those of the residents who would like to leave, they would have the opportunity to leave. And for those who would like to stay in the camp and receive the urgent medical and humanitarian assistance, they would receive it. Actually, today we received extremely worrying reports about the very bad situation, psychological situation of more than 80% of the population, according to the estimations of some paramedics working at Palestine Hospital. So in that sense, the unhindered movement, the passage with unhindered movement in both directions is the ultimate solution.
So just explain to viewers who don't understand about why there is no movement. The camp is sealed off, no one can get in or out. How does it work, or how does it not work?
In fact, very simply, the northern exit of the camp is sealed off by the Syrian regime forces since more than 2 years now. And this is the main exit of Yarmouk, which connects us to central Damascus. So in that sense, once you try to approach the north exit of Yarmouk, you are fired at. by regime forces, and you are not allowed to proceed towards the exit. So technically speaking, the easiest way to solve the issue of Yarmouk is to allow for convoys, people, and supplies to go in and out from the northern exit. Yarmouk is one of 7 besieged areas in southern Damascus, and it is located exactly on the front lines with the capital, Damascus, the capital. So this is why we are asking for a safe passage, observed internationally. This is the most important part of the whole demand from the northern exit.